Hello everybody, how's it going? Today I published a column in the Daily Record. In it I wrote about Conservative MP Ross Thomson, who has made a bit of a name for himself over the last year or so. At least that's how long he's been on my radar. And he's known as a bit of a character, a bit of a sort of outspoken type. Although I've yet to really get a sense of what it is he actually stands for, except that he's against Scottish independence and he's against Britain being in the European Union. Both completely valid positions to take on those issues, by the way. The article was written quite sarcastically. It was written quite sarcastically for a number of reasons. The main one was that I do feel that sarcasm and mockery are often effective devices when you try to demystify someone or something who some people might be wrongly taking too seriously. And in the case of Ross Thomson, as a public figure speaking on issues of the day that affect people and communities in Scotland, I certainly feel that there is a danger that he's taken in any way serious. Now, that's not to say that he has nothing of value to say. I'm sure he understands the intricacies of Brexit negotiations and constitutional arrangements far more intimately or intricately than I do. But I tend not to comment on the intricacies of those issues because I know there are other people out there who know more than me. So if I do touch on them, I'll stick to an area where I feel confident that I have something to offer the discussion, which is what I wish Ross Thomson would do when it comes to social policy, particularly social policies that impact people living in some of Scotland's most challenged communities. Now, before I continue what I'm going to say, I would just like to lay out that this is not a personal attack on Ross Thomson. In the article, I mentioned that he went to university and that he worked in Debenhams, and I was a little bit facetious about it, but it wasn't making fun of the fact that he got an education or that he had a job. I wouldn't make fun of someone just for that. I was trying to make the point that I feel he's perhaps not sufficiently qualified or experienced either in politics or professionally, or perhaps even as a person who's then going on to not only vote on the laws that govern people in this country, many of them impacted by issues that it's arguable Ross Thomson has no insight into beyond what other politicians say about them, or some sort of intuition that he has perhaps that might not be that reliable. And also that he's relatively young, and it worries me that his views seem to belong in the 1980s, where many of them were already discredited. So his appearance on Question Time recently, he made a couple of comments. One was about universal credit, one was about drug policy. Both of the comments revealed a lack of understanding. It wasn't even necessarily that he was making an argument that I disagree with. It's that he wasn't making an argument. He was parroting Tory party press releases and playing to a very small gallery. Now, I have no issue with conservatism as a value system. I think that conservative virtues and principles, such as families being empowered to become the main cell of communities, encouraging families to stay together, look after your own, and that is the best contribution that you can make to society. The conservative belief in individual and personal responsibility. I think that these are all important, not only important, but self-evident principles, in particular certain social circumstances, usually where there is enough financial, material and emotional resources that people are not constantly just putting out fires in their lives all the time whether that be dysfunction in the household, problems in education, or the ubiquitous violence or the perceived threat of violence in many communities. When you're dealing with that stuff, it's a bit harder to focus on the conservative virtues, which, while certainly applicable in some communities, make less and less sense when you're dealing with adversity, generational poverty, unemployment, a precarious labour market, and a very hostile social services, whether it be in welfare or at the Home Office, you name it. This government believes hostility is a valid strategy to try and encourage and incentivise people, when that shows a lack of understanding about the emotional conditions that people are living in, and that those conditions are already hostile enough. So I don't have an issue with conservatism. I don't have an issue with conservatives. I strongly disagree with the current UK government for reasons I've just outlined. And this isn't personal. I just feel that Ross Thomson has emerged at a time where people don't vote in politicians based on what they believe, based on their ability to make coherent arguments, based on issues that they're known to stand for, or members of the community they're known to advocate on behalf of. Ross Thomson emerges at a time where people assess the political landscape based on their own constitutional preferences, and the game is to get as many people in a party that supports your constitutional position elected, so that they can stop the other party from doing the thing you don't want them to do. And I'm not saying that's not valid, I'm just saying it's sort of thinned out the political class in some ways. And I think Ross Thomson currently is a good example of that. I believe that I could make a better argument for the union than Ross Thomson if I was asked to. I've engaged with many conservative unionists, many labour unionists, many socialist unionists. I understand the unionist position. I understand the moral dimension of the unionist position. I understand the political dimension of the unionist position. And I also understand there's a broad diversity of perspectives within unionism. So if someone was to say to me, Darren, let's hear your argument for the union, then I would be able to make a pretty strong and quite passionate case, even though I believe in Scottish independence, because I understand the unionist case well enough that I can even understand the emotional connection that people have to it. And also, I think that if I was asked to, I could probably make stronger arguments for most of Ross Thomson's positions, whether that be on universal credit, whether that be on being tough on drug users, or whether that be just conservatism generally. I don't have to believe in those positions to understand them in order to make the argument. I just don't think that Ross Thomson exhibits any of those traits. I don't think he's curious about understanding the points of view of people that he disagrees with. And I think that as a relatively young man in politics who's going to have other young people looking up to him, it's very important to me that people don't think Ross Thomson is cool. Because I don't really think he's figured out what he believes yet. And that's okay. So I'm going to make an offer here. I'm going to make an offer that if Ross Thomson would like to come into a public domain, a public debate, and we can talk through whatever he wants, then I'm open-minded. I'm open to being persuaded of his positions on whatever issues. I'm also looking for an opportunity to impress upon him that he needs to revise his views where universal credit is concerned and where drug policy is concerned, and that I'm very keen to try and make that happen. Now, that's where I'm at with this. So there's the offer, and people can be certain that I'm not doing this for attention. I'm certainly not doing it for publicity. There's no financial motive here. I genuinely have a problem with a politician that's around about the same age as me, who has been university educated, who appears to know next to nothing about a lot of the things that he talks about, and I personally feel quite agitated by that. So I wonder what you guys think of that. And the offer is there. Take it easy.